Send me a text when you get home. Yeah, that's fine. Rubbin's racing. Okay, shop update time. Welcome back to another video of the Auto Refinery YouTube channel. My apologies for not getting back to you folks sooner. Things have been really hectic, and it's not because we have not been working on cars. We just have a lot of stuff going on that is not ultra conducive to recording video. So while we apologize for that, we got some splaining to do. In this video, we're going to talk to you about some things that have changed, some scenery things around here that have changed, and a cool plan that we have for the end of this month. A couple things are missing here. That's right. For those who pay close attention to all the stuff I have going on here, one thing that's missing is the 400G. The 400G engine that came out of that rolling chassis that Dave brought down, that has been sold in its complete and running state to a very cool guy who's got a very cool collection of Oldsmobiles and a 68 442 that is in need of an engine. I had hopes and plans of maybe putting that 400G into the brown El Camino. And I just said, you know what? Let's stick it on the old marketplace and see if somebody doesn't have more of a practical use for it. And lo and behold, we had one person who had an interest in it, and he and I struck up a deal. Great guy. We had a great afternoon when he came to pick that thing up. In any case, it's gone. One more thing is gone here too. The Mr. Jones engine block is at the machine shop. Put that in the back of skid mark a few weeks back at this point, and Mike is going to give it, hopefully, the blessing. Make sure it's all good in the hood. And if that's good, and the block is, really would be a heartbreaker, guys, because that block has the VIN on it. But let's assume the block is good and it doesn't need to get a new bore because that'll require new pistons, and we are on a relative budget there. It is already 30 over. This is the crank for that W31 engine, the Mr. Jones car. These are the heads. So that's a good update. Okay, 2 engine things right there. You know, while we're on the topic of engines, we had spoken, for those who pay close attention to some videos prior, John and I, Big J, we were going to fire up his 402 in his 71 big block El Camino. Wah, wah, wah. Not that big of a deal, but he did the very diligent step of hooking up a radiator in the chassis and filling it with water before we started it, and water began to pour out of the head gaskets. So we're too far along on that car. John is too far along on that build to take any silly, stupid chances. So off came the heads. There'll be a much longer, in detail video on how he addressed all of that. So that's an update. John's been kind of thrashing on that, but not video-esque type stuff yet. Okay, what else can I tell you? Well, the convertible aggravated the hell out of me. I just was not happy with how that car was riding. That 69 Cutlass convertible, Mary. It just rode so dang stiff, man. And something happened on a particular day. I watched a video on a 65 GTO. I think the name of that channel is Martin Motors, maybe. Young guy, does nothing but GTOs. Cool gig he's got going on. He explained how the ride and handling package on a 65 GTO did not include a rear anti-sway bar because John DeLorean, as the story goes, did not like how the car rode with a rear anti-sway bar. That very same day, I drive the Cutlass about 40 minutes away to a family function, and maybe I'll put a picture of Bob's car in here. There was a friend of ours, Bob, was at this event with his 68 Buick Grand Sport convertible, telling me how great that car rode. Well, guess what? That car had no rear anti-sway bar. That car had no box lower control arms, and that car had a stock front sway bar, telling me how great it rode. So I began to scratch my bald head and said, let's talk about this for a second. When I put that car together for Alyssa years back for her to graduate high school, I bought the plate kit to weld in and box the lower control arms. I bought an aftermarket 1-inch rear anti-sway bar. I bought an aftermarket 1 1/8 front sway bar. I guess because I bought just a regular aftermarket bushing kit, yeah. The front sway bar had poly bushings to the frame, and the front sway bar links had poly bushings. Had, H-A-D, as in past tense. There's the kit. There's the 1 1/8 front sway bar. There's the 1-inch rear anti-sway bar. There's the frame bushings. There's the stabilizer bar links. They're off that car. What is now on that car is the front sway bar from Skidmark, the 72 El Camino. So here's what happened there. That rolling chassis that Dave Rooney brought down way back when had an aftermarket QA1 large diameter front anti-sway bar. And I had it hanging here in the corner. And I just was messing around one day and I said, you know what, let me chuck it in the front of Skidmark just to like compare. Well, the good news is, because it's a high quality anti-sway bar, it didn't adversely affect how that car rides. Believe it or not, that El Camino rides pretty well, other than the dash rattling around. So what came out of the El Camino was that square-ended, just under an inch, 0.937, I think it is, front sway bar. And that got hung in the corner. Let me show you what I mean when I said square end. So this is a page out of the Oldsmobile book, but it's all the same for basically the GM models. These are the ends, the eyelet of the passenger side of the anti-sway bars. These shapes will indicate what diameter the sway bar is. Okay? The 398499, sorry about that. That's the end that's there. That's a 0.937 inch diameter. The 498 is just a totally round with a little bit of a point. That's 0.875. If you have this one here with this little tab sticking off the middle of it, the 924, that's a 0.970. And this one here, the 1194, with that, it's all round with one corner hanging off it, that's really for Vistas. That's a full 1-inch bar. So that's what I mean when I say the square-ended bar. That is now what's in the Cutlass. Okay, so, I should back up. I put shocks in the Cutlass. You guys may not have seen that. Who wants to watch my fat ass rolling around putting shocks underneath the car? But I did put shocks in it in an effort to make it ride better. Another set of shocks. It rode better. So I took that anti-sway bar off from the rear, and it rode much better. I took that front sway bar off, put in rubber bushings with that 0.937 inch stock sway bar from the El Camino. Rubber bushings to the frame, sway bar links with rubber bushings, night and day. I'm happy again. It's starting to ride like an Oldsmobile should ride. Now, to be fair, I'm not bashing all large diameter anti-sway bars. What I am kind of bashing is when you just buy the eBay ones, which is what I did, 6 years ago or something like that. I'm of the opinion they don't have that engineered torsional value. They're just Chinese steel bars that probably don't flex. The car handled pretty well. It just didn't ride well at all. So they're for sale for somebody who wants to prioritize handling. They're just not for me and Alyssa in that car. Didn't ride well at all. Okay, that got taken care of. So speaking of Skidmark, Skidmark got some attention after that anti-sway bar deal. I painted the inside of the bed just because it was like primer gray, that highway gray. I did that. The sway bar. I ordered a steering reg joint for that. I haven't put that in yet. Oh, I put a headliner in that. I put a headliner in Skidmark. You know, I should really learn, but Skidmark doesn't really get the high end. That's an eBay headliner. No video on that. I think that was like an $80 headliner with the material for the sail panels. It's such thin vinyl that I put it in. It was nice and tight. I parked it outside in the heat. It's really, really hot. And it's kind of drooping like those old mid-80s G bodies would droop. So I'll have to kind of pull that trim off and see if I can't get that to be tighter again. So that happened. And you missed that because you weren't here helping me. And I didn't take any video. So I sold the equipment trailer, that crappy old equipment trailer that was out there. It just needed so much work. The fenders were rusted. There was a board on it that had cracked. I had one tire that just had a real hop in it. And it was just an equipment trailer. It wasn't a proper car trailer. It didn't have the dovetail. And it's just not a pretty trailer. I'm like, I don't want to get into restoring this trailer. So that went down the road. Now for the biggest part of the update. Okay, everybody sitting down. Now for the big news. I sold the Rally 350. It's gone. Young man responded to the ad. Again, I put it on there and I said to Joe, this is going to be it. This is the final time I'm advertising this car. But before I start working on it, we have one chance to sell it. Because once I start working on these cars, I really have a hard time letting them go. But practical minds and practical calendars suggested to me that it was time to give it one more shot to sell it. It's not really what we ultimately wanted to do with it. I had talked about putting this engine that we built for $500 last winter, or 2 winters ago, in that just to do burnouts. Kind of the independent Chevelle style thing from who, but that's not really our style much. Anyway, young man, Nolan, he responded. He had one years ago, and I guess he ended up selling that and parting out another one or something. So we came to an accord, and he came down with the funds and a trailer. Very, very self-sufficient, prepared young man. Trust me when I say that the Rally is in good hands, and he has every intention to build that car. He's not parting it out, and he certainly didn't buy it to flip it. He bought it to build, and he loved the history of it. I've put him in touch with the prior owners that we had tracked down, so we're going to kind of keep in touch with that whole project as it goes along. But a lot of distractions here, and there's only 2 of these, and a lot of times I'm just running around, keeping these cars up and running and maintained. So it only made good sense. I'm sure you guys can all understand that that was the best thing to do rather than just have that car sit outside. Remember, my 68 El Camino out there, the SS 396 El Camino, that's the next car that I really want to build after Mr. Jones. So where was that Rally going to be? When you got to start looking at how old you are and how much time you got left. So it was time for that car to go. All right, here's what's coming up next. Now that we've got that whole update and shop update and summary of things, and some of you are going to wipe your tears to hear that the Rally's gone. Sorry. But what we're doing is we're prepping for a big car show in Kingston, New York, August 1st and August 2nd. That's a Saturday and Sunday, full weekend. The show is put on by a cool mini truck kind of lowrider club called Made to Envy. Made the number 2 Envy, ENVY. That club is putting on what they call the Envy Frenzy. And it's a cool club, man. I know one of the guys who's big in the club through golf. My son Nick played with this guy, Nick. And we never really talked trucks and cars until after the golf thing. And, they're a bunch of family guys. And they're getting the band back together. They took a hiatus from the truck club game for a while to do their family thing. And now they're kind of boosting it all back up. I went to one of their events, I think it was last fall. And, man, it's just a great vibe. So when I heard they were doing this car show, I pitched it to Joe and to John, and I said, hey, I know it sounds crazy, but we should do this show. Not only to support, which we really want to do, to support this club's efforts, because we just like their style, but because we can utilize this as a drill to bring all of our stuff and put this whole show exhibition thing to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the whole Monty, right? We're bringing Mary, the convertible. We're bringing Mr. Jones, the W31 project. We're bringing the OG, my F85 W31, and we're bringing the Lemans. Those 4 vehicles are going to be in a 20 by 60 vendor spot. And inside that vendor spot is going to be a table with some t-shirts for sale and a couple computers and monitors playing some of our videos so we can help promote our efforts to a crowd that most certainly has never even heard of us. And that may prove to be fruitful. Along with that, we're bringing 3 cars to be put into the show. And just again, to show what we have. And that's going to be John's silver and black El Camino, the OE. We're going to bring Skidmark. Actually, incidentally, we bought Skidmark literally within walking distance of where this car show is going to be. So that's kind of cool. And we're going to bring the 66 A-code Mustang convertible, the Rhett Miller Mustang. That's going to be going with us. So that's 7 cars, man. 7 cars and a bunch of paraphernalia. And it's going to be all hands on deck. Joe is coming up from Georgia for this. John is obviously in for the weekend. His son, Seamus, my son, Nicholas. Mark is going to be towing Mr. Jones. Ken is, of course, going to be driving the Le Mans with his job is going to be helping Joe get the computers and the TV screens and all that kind of stuff up and running for everybody. John and I will be the faces and the mouths of the deal to some extent. The boys will just be running cars back and forth. So we're in the recruiting process here because I just kept getting crazy. Yeah, give us the vendor spot. Yeah, let's get a show car in. Let's get 2. Let's get 3 show cars. But it's a good drill, and it's a good event. You know, I again, we like the crowd, so happy to help them and support their efforts, as it were. So that's what's happening now. I don't know when you're going to see this video, but that's August 1st, August 2nd. It's kind of right around the corner. So if you're in any close proximity to Kingston, New York, it's going to be down by the area they call the Strand, which is down by, it's a little bit of a waterfront down there. It's kind of a cool historical little district down there. So roads are closed. That's where we'll be. It's a rain or shine event as far as they're concerned. You know, we don't really bring more than a couple of these cars out in the bad weather. So hopefully, let's just cross our fingers and hope we have good weather. Not crazy hot, not rainy, that kind of thing. All right, that's the update. There'll be another video coming as we're prepping, getting close to the show, and we're going to maybe do some videos at the show, all that kind of cool stuff, all right? Got new shirts. We got new shirts coming. So if you want one, I guess you got to hit Joe up, get a hold of him, and he'll figure out how to take your money and send you a shirt, because that helps. Okay, there's the update. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being patient. I hope this brings some clarity as to why we haven't been shooting videos, that whole weekly thing. We do got to get back on the track of weekly videos. I know that, but, you know, bear with us. We're doing our best. All right, see you next time.